Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this video and blog post tell you all about my wonderful online Vedic Astrology course that I've been teaching for 30 years now. And it's so special and so informative because there's Vedic astrology and Western astrology crossover. I'm glad to answer any questions about this if you're watching the video, but I want to say that the course is completely personalised, expert and caring, and it will be great to work with you if you want to work on this course. So my Vedic astrology course is actually on 3 levels. And I want to start by saying that the reason I brought in Vedic astrology and Western astrology crossing over is that it's absolutely crucial. It avoids nonsense statements that either can go in for. It's needed for the fullness of the truth. What's the difference? Well, Vedic astrology, using the sidereal zodiac, is essentially a statement of our karmic fate and destiny and life purpose direction now. Our higher self, at the end of our last life, reviews all the karmas, good and bad, that we ran up in the past life and stretching back thousands of years, and chooses a selection which our soul is to work with this time. Western astrology, using the tropical zodiac, is essentially a statement of our emotional self and its unfoldment possibilities in this incarnation. So to explain why I ended up over years teaching this approach, I want to give 2 examples. I felt I had to do it. It's the only way, actually, to achieve accurate, full, needed astrological statement. So in my case, well, my moon was a crucial issue. When I started Western astrology, when I was like a teenager, it gave no indication of the awful start I actually had in this life around the area of mothering. It was tropical zodiac, and my moon is at 23 Aries in the tropical zodiac. But when I started to add Vedic astrology, key truth was revealed by my Vedic chart. Namely, in the sidereal zodiac, my moon is at 29 degrees 56 Pisces, deep in the Gandanta, the transition from water to fire sign, Pisces to Aries. And of course, Western astrology knows nothing of Gandanta. But this Vedic statement so accurately defined my mothering fate in this life. It was a crucial, awful omission from Western astrology. And so with moon in the Gandanta, I was born to a homeless single mother and so was put in a convent orphanage. But then I learned I had to also add some Western astrology to that for the full truth. Namely, that my moon is conjunct the awful asteroid Sedna, the asteroid of horrible events to a person. Indeed, I was later adopted, and unfortunately my adoptive mother should never have had children. According to Vedic astrology, she had moon in Abhukta Mula Gandanta, the Scorpio-Sagittarius transition, which has a long history of cautions about mothering. So that's I hope that explains to you from the point of view of my moon why you need both Vedic and Western astrology. It's no good just shouting out one or the other. My second example is from my Mars. My truly wonderful first tutor in Vedic astrology, to whom I owe so much, taught me 35 years ago, Mars is your strongest planet in Scorpio. It's in the sign it rules, Vedic Scorpio. It receives no aspects from other planets. But so crucially, what he did not know is that my Mars is conjunct Chiron. Chiron is our existential wound. My Mars carries a terrible wound, and of course I'm working on it all this life. So what do you get on my course? Well, you start by receiving wonderful reports from me, your charts and reports in both Vedic and Western astrology. And we kick off with a major one-to-one reading on Zoom. You also receive a huge array of stacked documents, and at the start and at any point in the course you've only got to ask for a document at any stage and I provide it. You also receive a huge array of charts to start with, plus of course any further charts you need. And these are, of course, from both Vedic and Western astrology. They're handwritten by me, and there are a number of very valuable computer-generated reports as well. You also receive a nakshatra presentation document for each of your key nakshatras. So the nakshatras are the utterly wonderful 27-sign lunar zodiac of Vedic astrology, so accurate for both personal astrology and relationship astrology. And indeed, I do also teach a full-length nakshatra course that you can study later on. But at the start of the course, you receive my course document for Sun, Moon and Ascendant, or Lagna. Okay. Starting the course, we work on one planet after another. First your sun, you write up about that, and then my sun, you analyse that and send me your write-up. We then meet on Zoom, and having studied our suns, we then study our moons, and then our ascendants or lagnas, and so on, right through all the planets and key asteroids after the top three, Sun, Moon and Ascendant. You can do them in any order you choose after the top three. And you start each planet study, you receive from me a reading on Zoom. So the first of these readings is free, and thereafter there's a small charge for each planet study reading on Zoom, depending on the length of reading you request. The price range is around 25 to 50 euros. Healing. Another key principle of my courses is that my astrology declarations are always linked to possible healing potential, where a planet's energy is identified as difficult. It's relevant that I have 5 university degrees, including psychology and sociology postgraduate degrees. So when I was an undergraduate at Oxford, I studied English literature, Anglo-Saxon and Old Norse. And later, I so loved to study both ancient Norse and ancient Irish spirituality, and I teach courses in them in my Druid Forest School. Now, after those degrees, I worked in a 5-year university-based ethnographic field study of the Western reception of spiritual forms new to the modern West. Now, the principle of ethnography is that one has to live in the communities one studies and give the people whom one studies their own voice. So it's a wonderful approach. And the spiritual pathways I studied were Hinduism, Buddhism, paganism, shamanism, and utopian community. So for Hinduism, I lived at a Sri Lankan Hindu refugees temple in South Wales on and off for the 5 years, participating fully in the Hindu practices. For Buddhism, well, I studied both Tibetan Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism. So for Tibetan Buddhism, I lived in 3 different Tibetan Buddhist gompas, and I particularly connected to Avalokiteshvara and White Tara. And for Theravada Buddhism, I lived in a Theravada Buddhist centre in Devon. Paganism, I joined a Wiccan community in Glastonbury on and off for the 3 years. Shamanism, well, I started the studies with John Matthews, and I've learned since many shamanic techniques, which of course I can share to you if they're relevant to what we find in your Vedic and Western astrology course. So the shamanic healing sessions I teach and optionally couple with the astrology readings and courses are, well, shamanic journeying, shamanic healings, dream work, astrology reading with a shamanic healing session, ancestral healing, so important, divination, spiritual intrusions, curses and thought form healings, shamanic extraction healings, soul retrieval healing, healing your shadow. And I do a wonderful journey to the abyss, so good for example, 8th house and Pluto astrology depth study and healing. And in the utopian communities part of the study, I lived in a utopian community near Glastonbury, a community on and off over the 5 years, a community dedicated to tread lightly on the earth, where the members lived in benders. Well, a bender is a willow framework with a tarpaulin over it and a wood-burning stove, plus growing your own food. And I remember how odd it was on the first day I turned up, connecting to the bender site, and then about 4:30 in the afternoon, the children turned up in their school uniforms. It looked so different, shall we say. I also have colleagues mentioned on my Starwheel Astrology site and my Love Star Dating website, and they do, for example, psychic readings, past life readings, hypnotherapy, soul realignment, healing remembered modality, and more. So, go to the Vedic Astrology course I teach on my Starwheel Astrology website. It starts off with Vedic Astrology Level 1, the Level 1 course. And in my Vedic course, you learn many Western techniques as well, such as predictive age points, star astrology, nature versus nurture analysis, chart aspect shapes analysis, planet energy combination interpretation techniques, and many more, and you get the documents. And for each of the planets, you're provided with a visualizing journey to meet each of the planets, to connect to the divine nature of each of the planets. And as I said, journey to the abyss in certain, like House 8 and Pluto. And of course, using both Vedic and Western astrology, there's also a relationship astrology techniques course I offer as well, which I feel is very accurate and worthwhile. So I do hope this gives you some indication of who I am and how I share with my students and how much I care. So go to my Starwheel Astrology website to enroll on the course. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them, and I look forward to seeing you on this wonderful course. And may there be all blessings to our crucial, life-changing, spiritual and healing work that the course inevitably brings with it. Thank you.